Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about one of Overwatch's biggest problems, and it's mainly focused on the way that Blizzard has been balancing out the heroes so far. So, it's no secret that Blizzard, whilst they do create good games, are not the best at balancing heroes out, or in general any aspects of their games. Whilst their buffing process isn't too bad in general, apart from a few anomalies here and there, their method for nerfing is a bit over the top at times. Instead of nerfing a single aspect of a hero in question, they will nerf multiple aspects without really identifying the major grievance factor for what made that hero too powerful in the first place. There are a few cases of this, both in Overwatch and other games that they've made, but the most recent one that comes to mind is a huge Genji nerf that came with competitive Season 2. The question we have to ask though is, what makes Blizzard change things? Well, there are three main factors that contribute to Blizzard deciding to change something: pro play, public play, and community feedback. Let's run through these factors, starting off with pro play. Professional players are at the top tier of the game and are generally not a great indicator of where game balance should be. However, we do have to remember that pro players don't play in tournaments 24/7, they spend a lot of time in public competitive and quick play games, so they do actually personally have a good idea of the balances for the certain heroes that they specialise in both public and professional play. It's just that they make up a generally small amount of the player base. Public play is actually a decent indicator of balance. Public play represents the majority, and taking statistics from public play is generally good procedure. Whilst professional players definitely shouldn't be shafted by changes should generally try to benefit the majority. The final factor is community feedback. When a certain aspect of a hero is overpowered, those who hold grievances with it will scream it from the rooftops, whilst those who aren't too bothered will generally say nothing. When it comes to community feedback, it's the most vocal party that wins, and that's not always a great indicator of where things should be. Now, whilst changes should try and benefit the majority, things like Genji's movement nerf added with the competitive Season 2 update only hurts the higher tiers of play without adding anything to compensate for it. Another change that's recently come into effect is a Lucio nerf, making it so that his amped up speed boost now gives 70% boost, as opposed to the 100% double speed boost it used to have. So why did they nerf this aspect of Lucio? Before the nerf, statistics show that Lucio was being picked in almost every competitive game without fail, and Blizzard interpreted this to mean that he was too powerful. This is exactly the sort of attitude Blizzard needs to avoid when it comes to nerfs and buffs. When it comes to competitive and tournament play, there will always be least played and most played heroes, depending on what's kind of the meta at that point. Lucio was almost always picked not because he's too powerful, but because he's the only hero where you can focus more on benefiting the team and setting the pace of the game, whereas heals will come passively. He's not a good targeted healer, he's not good at increasing team DPS, he's not good at putting constant pressure on the other team, and he's not good at surviving huge ulti pushes, regardless of his ultimate ability. Things which other characters are great for in the support category. This is just one example of the way that Blizzard have been nerfing things in a generally a bad way, and they've been nerfing it too over the top as well. Their method for actually nerfing stuff isn't that great when it comes to working out what needs to be changed and what doesn't need to be changed. So, I mean, small changes like Soldier's buff, that was a decent buff. Nobody really called for it, but they kind of got the idea that Soldier wasn't as great a DPS as McCree is. He's still not as good, but he's better now at, say, sniping fires out there, and he's better at medium range. So I'm not too sure where they got that idea from. Obviously Blizzard have their own developer integrity where they think, okay, we need to buff this, we need to nerf this. But when it comes to stuff like the Genji nerf, the Genji movement nerf, D.Va's self-destruct not killing her, that really lowered the skill ceiling for D.Va. You used to have to be careful where you put the ultis, but now you can just throw them out. The Mei ulti buff, I mean, they said it was too hard to use. That's pretty much the idea of a skill ceiling. It wasn't that hard to use. You just got to use it at the right time, and that's where you get your game sense and your awareness, and that's where better players are better players for a reason. So, in conclusion, changing characters based on usage in competitive and community feedback should be heavily inspected before anything is done. Blizzard seems to be taking things at face value too much, and changing characters without due reason. This current process of reasoning for changing characters, in tandem with the over-the-top nerfs, are what keeps throwing bad changes into the game, and it's the main hurdle that Blizzard needs to overcome to keep the future of this game sustainable and well-rounded. Thanks for watching. Do you agree, or do you think that Blizzard's system is fine and dandy? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to keep up to date with all my content, and I'll see you in the next one.